Hello everybody and welcome back to Mario Maker Madness. Today I'm pretty much going to be making a stage like I said I would last time. Now, between the options I had, I wanted to do something that I haven't tried before. So I wanted to see whether or not I could make either a maze stage or an auto stage. So I flipped a coin, it landed on heads, and unlike in Pokemon Yellow where it landed on its side, and I decided to make an automatic stage. Now with this first bit, I'm just making the layout for how this stage will play out by putting together the track. There's no rhyme or reason to the shape of the track. I just figured I'd go with something random and hope to get things working. But apparently with that springboard pushing me onto the conveyor belt moves me too fast for the moving platform to stop me in time, so I decided maybe I could try putting in a second one. Maybe that'll keep me from going too far, and nope, it just pushes me off as well. So let's put in a third one, the third one being more of a stopper platform. And things seem to be working just fine. All fine and well, and why is it going backwards? So I had no idea how I'm supposed to make a track launch me off like I've seen in so many auto stages before. But until I can figure that out, I decided I'd spice things up a bit by putting enemies in just for visual aid, and thought, maybe I should put in a few giant thwomps. Oops, did not mean to kill that thwomp with another thwomp, but okay. And then I had an idea. Hey, maybe I could put a bunch of thwomps there to kind of scare the player a little. And also, for a little visual flair, put in some fire bars that move in unison for a nice little 3D effect, but the thwomps drop down way too soon, so I figure maybe I'll move them up to delay their fall, but nope, they fall down anyway. So, what's my solution? Box them in with note blocks, and then you get a really funny effect. And, lost my helmet. I need that helmet for this entire stage, so figure out which one knocks out the helmet and get rid of that Buzzy Beetle. So at this point, I figure might as well spice things up a bit more, put in a few more fire bars, change the angles a little. That seems to work, and until the fire bar knocks my helmet off. Alright, shorten it a bit, and there we go. Now it's moving along just fine, and there goes one giant thwomp, and I managed to juggle the other one, but they just keep going. And then this weirdness happens. I don't know how that happened, but I'm trying to make it so that I fly right off of here like I intended, but still have yet to figure out a way, so I try to supplement it by forcing me off of it, but then that thwomp destroys the platform that I was standing on. So, in order to counter that, I put in the one-way platforms. And figure, okay, I'll put in the spring-loaded cannon to push me along once I get onto the ice blocks. Only problem was that, as you can see, the cannon falls because it's affected by gravity. So, what do? I experiment a little, and then I think I go for, the mushroom platform. And I try to make this look as good as I can by having it overlap with the track, because I pretty much figured, okay, so the track will work just fine with that overlaying it, right? So, time to test out this iteration of the stage and see how things will work. It's still the same roller coaster up until this point where that mushroom platform overwrites some of the track. Despite it still being there in the stage builder preview, it disappears when in use. So I decided for a little bit more visual flair, I put in a Bob-omb and also a Goomba and one other enemy inside of these blocks just to keep your eyes fixated on stuff. And then I decided, okay, maybe I could start throwing in sound effects. Make it a bit more appealing to the ears, I suppose. Because there are definitely going to be a lot of sound effects in this stage by the end. And I figured, okay, the Thwomps are constantly hitting these music note blocks, so let's make them have a dance party every time they hit it. But that doesn't wind up working for some reason. They don't work that way. And like I thought, the Thwomps cannot break the one-way paths, so I decided to align the ice blocks with one-way paths just in case the Thwomps break them. And that Bob-omb got blown up. That was not supposed to happen, so I move him down one space. And some of those sound effects weren't working properly, so I got rid of them and moved up those fireballs so that they could be seen more easily. And this, I don't know what I was doing with this part. I think I just wanted some extra sound effects here and decided to just throw springs and Koopas all over the place. Because I wasn't going to be using Koopas in any other way anyways. So, even though they go away pretty quickly and the cannon would not fire for some reason. I'm guessing because the Thwomps were getting in the way, but even when it fired, it wasn't reaching far enough. So I had to move it over, and there we go! The spring pushes you off far enough to fall right off of the platform. And from here, I just wanted to test out how it would work in action and use the shadows to put in, I believe, some more platforms, and discovered that I could overlap pipes. I had never really experimented with that sort of thing before, and decided I want to make him bounce off of the springs, but then I think I might have put in too many springs here, because, yeah, I get stuck on that wall. So let's try that again, and still stuck on the wall. So, I believe I think that's what I tried to do to fix it, so let's see. Or see what the effects of these changes will have made here. Go through the usual roller coaster of springs and conveyor belts, so I then, just for kicks, put in a few one-way blocks and put in a mushroom platform so that I can have a safe landing, just barely landing on the edge to safety. I wanted to decorate those pipes with upside down munchers, but I can't do that, and then I somehow activated fly swatting minigame. I don't know how I did that, but that's not what I intended, and then discovered the munchers aren't gravity free in terms of effectiveness, so then I decided to try attaching chain chomps there, but that does not work. And figured I'd check to see how much more room I've got left in the stage, and I still have a lot left, and then had an idea. How about shooting out springboards that are blocked by coin blocks that can be activated as soon as you hit a P-switch? Now, from that idea, on paper sounds like it could work, but it didn't do anything. But then I realized, oh wait, I should put the springboard inside the pipe. But then it just drops the springboards. So I decided to put in a cannon to shoot them out instead, and wanted to test if I could make those smaller cannons shoot out the springboards, but they can't. Learning one bit at a time. And I don't know what... Oh, I guess I was just trying to make it so that it doesn't drop. Where did the cannon go? Then I remembered cannons are affected by gravity, even if there's nothing below where it's supposed to be. And... yep, it's still gone. So I decided to put those there and then test things out once more. And then I decided... you know what? I want to have a Yoshi in this level. How can I put in a Yoshi that'll work? And then I knocked him off of the track. That was not what was supposed to happen. And then the spring just dropped short by one space. That was actually kind of funny in retrospect. And I get rid of the Yoshi egg because that wasn't doing anything. And I can't get a Yoshi without the egg. I don't know why, but that just wasn't working. And then I get stuck on that block. So something that I was doing was, I was doing something wrong there. So I moved that back. I think at that point there was a little bit of RNG to work around. Because most of the time, up until that point, I had been landing on the P switch. And then this happens. It doesn't... The springboard doesn't hit me after I've hit the P switch, so then I made the ground ice so that the springboard would slide into Mario to push him along like that. But that presents a new problem. Mario slides as well. So, I decide to give the springboard wings. Decided to give it a Red Ball. And then I tried testing it mid-level, and for some reason I put in a checkpoint. I'm guessing to slow Mario down a little bit while also making him big. Although that's a change I would later get rid of, because I don't want to deal with having to go through a checkpoint in a test in an auto stage. And from there, I get the springboard to work just fine, and begin to create the remainder of the track for the stage. And then I just make a tower of Hammer Bros and block them off. I figured it would be pretty funny and try to change what the hammers that they throw into feathers or one-ups or coins. At least I think that was what was going through my head at the moment when I put that tower together. Another test run to see how everything works. I also, somewhere along the lines, noticed that I kept on hitting the one Buzzy Beetle off of the track. And then noticed that the platform wasn't there when it was supposed to be. I don't know why it wasn't, so then I decided to try a blue platform. That didn't seem to do anything either, but after a little bit of deliberation, I was able to work out the kinks there, get things to work just the way they were supposed to, and then I completely overshot and went to my death. So, after that, I put in another one, put in some spikes for decoration to keep things visually appealing. That is one of the major themes I had, was to keep things looking interesting. And apparently, everything kept on lining up just fine, and I needed one more platform that would fit in there. So, one more trip through the roller coaster of blindness, since Mario apparently can't see a thing with that helmet on top of his face. And I still fall off because of overshooting it. So let's try again. And that time he undershot it because he wasn't in the right place from the auto part of the auto stage because I lined it up wrong. So, having done it the right way, Mario still falls off. So, what does that mean? It means I probably had to change up something along the lines of those platforms. That was probably something that I would figure out after this run. But I think... yeah, at this point I was just kind of tired of seeing him go through the same motions, and then for some reason the spring didn't go all the way. And I tried to line it up and mess up royally. Then I had the bright idea to put in an extra ice block so that Mario would keep sliding but would lose momentum upon hitting the platforms. Like that, and it still pushes him off to his death. And then I decided to change up the tracks a little bit and mess up a little bit in terms of the track layout and add in a couple more platforms to act as stoppers, just like with these skull lifts that Mario's constantly been riding on throughout this process. And it works just fine with Mario just barely hovering over the edge, and this is something I like how it turned out with every time that the platforms would rise up or sink down, Mario keeps getting juggled between the three platforms. Now he's at the back, and soon enough he'll be back at the front. Like so. And everything seems to be going just fine right now. Everything's looking nice. Hammer Storm! And they all miss, thankfully. Then we get to the end, and Mario loses the helmet and goes backwards where he came from. At this point, I think I was trying to figure out how to make it drop 1-up since the Hammer Bros weren't obviously doing anything beneficial. So I decided to make a stack of clown car driving cannons that are loaded with 1-ups and trap them in that wall, but that didn't work too well. And since it was getting late at night, I decided to just call it a night and write in BRB, be right back. Then the next day I come back fully rested and decide on how to go through things, and figured, that's not gonna work. Let's instead make a track and put in, I believe it was Lakitus, because I don't think I had worked with those enemies yet in Mario Maker up to this point. In fact, yeah, it still has the red exclamation point, meaning that I had yet to use it, and I think I botched it up a bit there, because you could see the 1-up on the track, actually. So I erase them, refix the track, give him the 1-up to hold, and then copy them over onto the track, and they fly away. Apparently Lakitu can't be put on tracks. I wish I had known that going into this, but yeah, I think they're one of the only enemies that can't be put on tracks, now that I think about it. Then I try to make a loop of tracks, and that still doesn't work, because reasons. Then I had the brilliant idea of moving the 1-ups into cannons. The cannons seem to be my best ally in this level, because yeah, now we've got a loop of cannons that shoot out 1-ups, and it's just ridiculous. But it gets even better with when you get to the end of the stage, because at this point the level is actually almost done being made, because the track doesn't really get changed all that much. From this point forward, I was just messing around, having fun right there, because I was feeling bored. I don't think that affected anything. I forgot to get rid of the BRB, so I collected like 5 coins there. Those don't stay throughout the rest of the stage. I get rid of them eventually. And going through the gauntlet of tracks, and now I'm on the middle platform. And now you've got cannons shooting out endless 1-ups, so this will be an easy way of getting back lives in 100 Mario Challenge, and then it goes backwards again. And then I discovered how to make the tracks launch. You just click the ends of the track, and that launches it. I finally discovered what was going wrong with the stage, so I could do what I initially intended, and then... woo! That just skipped an entire section of the stage. And not only does it look cool, it also rendered all that troubleshooting that I did earlier pointless. And there we go. And because of the cannons, Mario gets forced into a crouching position until he gets pushed away. So I decided to put in a few sound effects to make things a bit more interesting. A little bit of applause for a job well done. And then I wanted to put in a sound effect for the first launch so that things will sound kind of foreboding. And then I decided to put in a little laugh track because of Mario bumping the Buzzy Beetle off of the track. And I considered that to be kind of funny, so I put in a little laugh. And there we go! And all that stuff that I troubleshooted through, completely pointless. So, I didn't even need all of this stuff, or that, or that, that, or that. So now I have a lot more free space to work with. And I decided to put in some dramatic sound effects for here, and some other fun little sounds, just so that things are a bit more interesting. You know, that seems to be a recurring theme here. I want to keep things interesting here. But then again, who wouldn't want to keep things interesting for a stage that requires 0 input? And at this point, I've gotten kind of bored of watching this whole sequence. And see, it pushes you out of the way after Mario's ready to do his victory pose. And so I decided to put in a few more of those dramatic sound effects and get rid of some other sounds, but the thwomps never make their sound effects, so I decided to just put in one dance party in Mario's pathway so that we can still get the effect that I was desiring, and it just so happens to align in perfectly with the laugh track. That was not intentional, but I'll take it nonetheless. Now, at this point, I want to put in the dramatic sound effect for the launch and the evil laughter for the near end of it. And then I figured, you know what? This part of the track has been pretty boring so far. Let's add some enemies to it to make things a little bit more foreboding. So I did. Although with varying levels of success. And the sounds completely messed up, and I lost my helmet that I wanted to keep. The chain chomp didn't really do anything, it's just there for show. But then I decided to put in a star and made it go into Mario so that he can pass through the buzzsaw without losing the helmet. What was I doing here? Oh yeah, I wanted to put in some fish so that Mario can bump them off of the track with his helmet. Or knock them down and carry a Goomba with him, but that didn't really have the desired effect since Mario still lost the helmet. I want him to keep the helmet for as long as possible, and notice that these special effects weren't activating at the right time. So I decided to move them up and get rid of those enemies since they weren't really doing anything helpful for the stage. So I decided to try putting in some Goombas and make them go faster with some wings, but they just get in the way and cause Mario to fall off the platform. So with that in mind, I decided to try to go with Wigglers instead. Because they're so long and elongated, that's kind of redundant. Disjointed is what I meant to say, not elongated. I decided to put them in there, and most of the time they actually wound up working just fine. Like that one, for instance. However, they start to become a bit of a problem right around here. Actually, no, not really. But the star starts to work just as intended, and then there's a whole lot of nothing here. This would be something that I would change, get stuck there, push out of the way, and victory pose. Now then, I think right here I was thinking about how I can go about making things more interesting. Either that or I got called for dinner. I think it might have been the latter of the two. Yeah, it was probably the latter of the two, but I was still contemplating at the same time what I could potentially do to make things more interesting for this stage. What else I could add in, what I could take out. At this point, I had already ruled out using Hammer Bros, Bowser, and the Magic Koopas because they would be too reliant on RNG, the random number generator. So since what they do is completely at random, and I don't want that for an auto stage because that could easily break the stage. So what I do is put more Wigglers. So many Wigglers, not enough Wigglers. Put as many as possible and give them all some Red Bull. Give them some wings. And then test to see how it works. And I lose the helmet and die. So that was a bust. I replayed it to count how many Wigglers I passed by, so that I can figure out which ones to get rid of. I don't know if I did anything that time. Yeah, I think that was the second one, so I decided to get rid of that one. So hopefully I don't lose the helmet. Nope, I did not. I knocked one off, and one of them knocked me off, so I decided to get rid of him, and decided to try it one more time, see how things go. And it happened again. But that time it looked like it was one of the red Wigglers, and having a little bit of technical difficulties of getting it off of the track without taking the track with it. That's a little bit tricky there. And that still knocked me off somehow. But apparently that was a normal Wiggler and not one of the ones that I made red because I apparently hit him in the head. Yep, like that. So I'm trying to figure out who the culprit was and try deleting them systematically. And at this point, things are going fine, and then I get knocked off anyway. I then count by how many there are, or just try getting rid of as many as I can to eliminate that possibility. And let's see, how effective was it? It was very effective. It was super effective. So I continue on with the testing. I kill off some more wigglers, and then everything just vanished. None of the remaining wigglers made it to the other side of the track, so I decided to figure out which ones in particular it was that was knocking me off. Maybe slow them down by getting rid of their wings, and hopefully get them along the right path. Although this does wind up leading to some hilarity in just a few moments here. And then I add in more wigglers. These guys quickly become the enemy of choice for this stage, and yeah, you can see why. I start considering where I should put it. It gets a little tricky flipping those switches for some reason. The button is kind of finicky there. Although I think I actually managed to come up to the level's limit for enemies pretty soon here, because I wanted to put wigglers all across the track, but then something happens. Yep, all the enemies get grayed out from the menu, so I can no longer put them on the stage. And then that happens. And I try to figure out how to get rid of that problem the same way that I've been doing it, and I lost the helmet and the life. So I try to figure out with the systematic method that I had come up with, and it did nothing to work. So I count them out and try to get rid of them accordingly. Let's see, how well does that work? Well, half of it worked. But then I wound up losing the helmet anyway, so that's one more wiggler to go and one more piece of track to put back into place. And that seemed to work just fine, and that wiggler really does not want me to get through. I'm not sure if that one was one that was already red or if I had jumped on it by accident. Yeah, the stage made Mario jump on that wiggler since it was yellow before it turned red. And then I saw that I knocked off one of the wigglers, causing it to get juggled by my helmet. I think I would later on go and put in a sound effect for that. But until then, he keeps getting knocked off of the track, and so do I. I try to circumvent that by moving that wiggler in particular up forwards. And then I put in a sound effect for it, but spoiler alert, that sound effect never gets triggered by Mario bumping it with the helmet. Instead, I think I later go on to put sound effects in front of right where he would bounce off of Mario's helmet. And that time I got bounced off the track and into the spikes. And then dropping into the pit. So the helmet survived. Mario was the one that didn't. What was I doing here? So what was I doing here? Was I thinking about how to go about this? Okay, I'm guessing I was just thinking for a while, or just looking up some music to listen to while doing this. So I get rid of one of the wigglers, try to test it out again, see how well I can do things. That seemed to work with that sound effect. Oh wait, actually no, that was the laugh for bumping off the Buzzy Beetle. So at that point I decided to make the Wigglers faster so that they can get launched off alongside Mario. And that one keeps on knocking you off of the stage. So I decided to do something about it. It's all a matter of trial and error here. I spent, I think, at least 2.5 hours making this stage alone. And that was over the course of 2 days. And, well, I was able to survive that for a little while by bouncing off of those without even putting in any button inputs. But then I decided, you know what, I might as well put in a few extra stars here, just so that they won't run out when faced with an enemy, so I can still plow through them, get some extra 1-ups, and then I lost the star. And subsequently, my helmet and my life. So I put in a couple more stars, go through the roller coaster, wish I could speed this portion up, at least while playing it, because, I mean, we're already going at like double, maybe triple speed here, because I am not posting a 2.5 hour Mario Maker video. Half an hour at best is what I'm willing to go with, and there you go, that seemed to get rid of all of those issues. So at this point, I think all I wanted to do was just put in some sound effects, visual differences, maybe some special effects to make things look a bit funnier. And see how things work that way, because right now we've got a stage that works perfectly fine. It's just a matter of adding in some visual detail to make it stand out from the other auto stages. At one point I was considering probably changing up the background to maybe be a cave or ghost house, or maybe an airship, but I'm not too sure. Maybe next time. I think right here I wanted to put in the panorama foreground effect of the birds chirping, but couldn't figure out which one it was immediately, so I decided to go and do that. And there we go, that's the effect I wanted. Just had to jump off of an invisible, not really there platform to my death just to see if it was the right one. And from there I put in a few other special effects. And here we go, here's where I put in the screaming sound effects for when the Wiggler bounces off of your helmet multiple times. Kind of funny how that worked out, juggling a Wiggler off of your head. That was not my initial intent, but it all worked out in the end, and I figured out how to get the cat paw effect. Kinda weird how it's labeled as a boxing glove, but it's a cat paw hitting stuff. I don't know why that is, but it's time for the third and final bit that I recorded for this stage. One where I decided to go and spruce up the visuals. I figured during the first main launch, well really the only launch, because the second time that I got rid of the borders was for a drop-off. So for the launch segment, I decided, you know what, maybe I should put in some fire bars, just for added effect, and to justify the whole suspense sound effect. Like right there. Right here, I wanted to put in tons of fire bars that would sway alongside Mario as he would go forward, but then I ran into the enemy limit again. Apparently, fire bars count as enemies. I don't know why, don't know how, but at this point it doesn't really matter. Because we're almost done here. At this point I'm just adding in extra stuff to spruce things up, visually. They don't in any way affect how the course goes. That looked nice, but then I decided, you know what, let's spread them out a bit. I'm already at the maximum limit for enemies, so I might as well spruce it up, make sure that it looks nice, and I think I probably should have waited till I made the full jump there. I'm not sure which way they were going in the first place here, so I'm hoping that at this point, I was hoping that it was going the right way so that it would turn with Mario falling from the launch. And apparently I couldn't even place springboards anymore because those are tied with enemies? What the crud? Or maybe I just had to met the limit for springboards. So then I decided to put in some pipes as decoration. And I guess despite them being able to do so in Mario World, you can't have sideways pipes at would it be a 45-degree angle? I think so, because there were tons of those in Mario World. Some of which you were launched out of as well. But at this point, I just felt like putting a bunch of pipes in for decoration. Saw I had some other effects I could use, some other set pieces, like maybe some clouds. Maybe have a couple of lines of clouds. Some weird shapes in the clouds, because clouds often come in some weird shapes. Sometimes it could look like a dragon or a fish. And I decided, you know what, some sky vines and sky logs. Yeah, that'll look cool. Let's connect them. Yeah, that seems like a great idea. Make some of those sky logs have vines growing in them, and why not raise up the Podobos a bit. I was trying to extend that vine, but for some reason thought I was trying to add in a second one. Then I decided, okay, well, let's just give the player an idea on which way they're going despite the clearly obvious track. Because I think I've seen lots of auto stages that utilize these things. And here I just had the idea, you know what? Let's make an indecisive arrow segment. And just have arrows pointing in all directions. This isn't where the arrows are gonna stay, by the way, because I do move them up so that I can put in a down arrow and then move them around just to get it to be as close to a circle as I can. It's not quite accurate. It's more like I'm not really sure what kind of shape that is. I accidentally erased some of the clouds, then I put it right there to show where are you supposed to go. I wanted to put in an upside down mushroom platform, but that apparently does not work. So I think, yeah, I made a ramp of coins. I think, yeah, then I just started using whatever I had available to me at random, just so that things would look cool, look interesting. And then I decided, let's make a little display for all the power-ups. All of them except for the feather for some reason. I guess because I figured, you know what, the feather is always falling, so would it just fall right through those blocks? Because that was my main reason for not using the feather up there. And you might not see it but in the video, but that star was jittering back and forth so fast that it probably was too fast for the video to actually pick up. Because I definitely did not see it jittering at all. Okay, things are looking kind of cool here. I'm liking how it looks right now. And one thing that I noticed is that the Wiggler segments, when they're going at an angle, look kind of weird. Weird in a, I don't know, rectangular circle kind of way. I'm not sure what I'm trying to get at here, but okay. There we go, there we have it, that's the stage. Mario gets stuck, then pushed aside, and victory pose. I go back to see how it looks. I then decide, you know what, get rid of the checkpoint, put in a fire flower instead, because that'll make Mario get big, and it's an item that won't move automatically. Since if I put a mushroom there, it probably wouldn't be there once I got to that point. And if I put a feather there, that probably would just fall right through and also wouldn't be there when I got to it. So, I still get the same effect, don't have to worry about going through the checkpoint check for when submitting the stage. So that's all well and good. Time to go through, see how things work out, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. It seems like I missed quite a few stars, and I like how that Wiggler winds up stuck on top of one of the pipes down there due to getting knocked off. And here, I believe, oh yeah, this was one of the last touches. I pretty much added a little extra confusion to the stage itself, like, where are we supposed to go? And then I was just goofing around right there and tried to see how long I could travel while spin jumping off of a Wiggler. And at this point, I was just looking for a good place to get a thumbnail image and thought, you know what, I think this looks good. That looks like a good spot to thumbnail image. And decided, yeah, let's upload this. Auto Mario Work in Progress, that's the working title, but then I realized I don't want that as the name for this stage, so I decided to create a new one for some reason. And kind of a bit of a brain fart here, because I forgot that you don't need to make a new stage just to give it a name, because it automatically prompts you to give it a title when you upload it. But I brain farted here. And as such, made a second copy of the stage that I didn't even need to. So now there's two copies of it. So go up here. That looks like a good spot to thumbnail. Again, save and upload. And now the full adventure begins with Mario's Blind Adventure Auto. Gotta put in the auto so that people know that it's an automatic stage, because otherwise you might have a ton of deaths on the stage that weren't warranted. I should know. I've died a couple of times in auto stages when I wasn't supposed to. But that is pretty much the end of this adventure with this stage. The level is now up online for anyone to play or download at their leisure. Feel free to play it, rate it however you want, give it a star if you want, give it a comment, see what you liked. And this is when I realized, oh, I didn't actually need to create a second copy of the stage. But I did, and there's the code. Hope you enjoyed!